Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm here with a very special guest.
I am the special guest.
What's your name?
My name is Mark. Esquire, doctor, PhD, and I have no other degrees.
He has many degrees, as you can tell. He actually is 50-something years old.
I am 22.
And what is your profession?
I'm an investment banker.
Are you ready to talk about what it's like being an investment banker?
Yeah.
Why don't you start off by saying why you wanted to become an investment banker?
Sure. So I always love research and story, like synthesis, persuasion. I initially wanted to be a lawyer. And in some ways I found that a little too slow. I took a few law classes in college that were maybe pedantic, if I might. And I found sort of all of those elements of what I appreciated about law within banking. And I sort of just naturally made the progression. And yeah, it was a great opportunity at the right time. And I'm happy that I'm here.
What was the reading cycle like?
So I was very fortunate to go to a school that is what's known as a target for recruiters. And so I had admittedly an easier time than most, probably, because the banks had sent around recruiting teams to my university campus. And so I was able to meet a lot of the recruitment team and the bankers themselves at on-campus events, whether they were info sessions in like these big ballrooms with hundreds of people that were like pretty not useless, like, you know, they deliver the mission of the company, etc., and like you're supposed to meet people, but you know, there are 300 people in a ballroom, so your likelihood of meeting people aren't very high. In fact, I used to they would do a networking session after the info session, and I would leave right after the info session for like 20 minutes and like hang around in like the lobby or whatever else and like wait for, because everyone would like rush the bankers. And it would be just like 30 people standing around one person. Like, that's not very useful. So I would just wait for everyone to leave. So I'd like spend 20-30 minutes just hanging out, calling someone, whatever else. And then once I felt like the numbers had declined, I'd then go back into the ballroom because they were still there.
So smart.
And try to make some conversation.
Here's a tangent. When I used to go to the banking info sessions, I'm not in investment banking, obviously, but they would be like, okay, so we're going to split up. There's sales and trading, investment banking, and then software engineering, or like whatever, like tech, and everyone would go to investment banking. And if you were in a section that like wasn't investment banking, it was like smooth sailing, because you had so many people to talk to.
Totally.
And like, you know,
I would generally go to like the HR reps and hang out with them for about half an hour.
Aww.
Until like either I'd leave or I'd hang out with the HR reps for half an hour, who like coordinate the whole thing and like make everything happen. So really, like, all kudos to them.
Yeah, no, they're so great. So then what was your interview process like?
So it was a while. I was involved with a pilot program where they...
Also, how old were you when you started recruiting?
I was 20, I guess. This is my sophomore spring. Yeah, I was 20. So the process worked with on-campus recruitment through like a resume drop, and then we were invited to like a breakfast of sorts where they were probably like 4 or 5 people to every banker. We were wined and dined with coffee and not wine. That was sort of an opportunity to, you know, speak to all the bankers on the teams from a variety of industries, whether it was healthcare or industrials or real estate or natural resources or whatever else. And then a few of us were selected for a dinner later that week, which was
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So you never had to like apply?
So we did like resume drops for...
Okay. So you got selected from your resume?
Yeah, so we were selected from our resumes for like the dinners.
Yeah.
And then after that, we were selected for directly with like Super Days.
Wait, if you did well after the dinner?
Yeah, like if you made an impression and people liked you and your resume like...
That's so crazy.
Fit in.
So you had to like schmooze.
It's a lot of schmoozing. Yeah.
Wow,
it's a salesy job. So.
I would die. You have to like talk to people?
You have to talk to people.
Oh god. Wait, how many people did you have to impress?
I don't know how many I had to like impress necessarily, but I probably met like 15 or so people.
Like at one dinner?
Yeah, at one dinner.
So, that's like frat recruiting.
Yo,
like high stakes, like frat.
It was like high stakes frat recruitment, for sure.
Did you feel like it was very boys clubby?
No, not at all. I mean, I think like, you know, the industry has made genuine and dedicated steps to diversifying an industry that has historically been predominantly white male and wealthy even. And I think sort of aware of being reflective of like constructive social change and how like how the firms should, you know, work to also be vehicles for like equitable change. I think they did a pretty good job. I certainly like the candidate pool itself. I would say it was roughly 50-50. I mean, even at my job now, like amongst junior bankers, we're pretty split in my group specifically. Obviously that's not true on the higher echelons. And I think that's, you know, a product of, takes a lot of, like, these initiatives were not taken, I don't really think, at all up until the last 10 years, and really, like, in a very robust way, probably in the last 5. So, you know, it's a matter of time before the successes of diversifying junior classes now sort of rise up through the ranks and solidify themselves as senior bankers and senior partners and whomever else.
The bottom up.
Yeah, but there are certainly women who are well represented in those capacities. Certainly on a percentage basis, probably fewer than amongst juniors.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but that's changing.
Okay, so you got selected from being a people person. So do you think if you want to go into banking,
you have to be a people person?
You have to be good
Absolutely.
with people?
You certainly need to be good with people, and you certainly need to...
That's so difficult.
People are hard.
People are so hard. I feel like that's harder than anything you're doing.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not in banking. I would die. I would literally go to the...
You would make a great banker.
I would die. Too many dad jokes that they really
I mean, so much of it, you know, we work relatively, like, we spend a lot of time together because we work long hours.
Yeah.
And so character and attitude is a huge part of recruitment. The goal here is finding people who are reliable, competent, and arguably most importantly, have a great attitude to work, have a great attitude to, you know, being chip all the time and being, you know, not like faking happiness throughout, but being excited and a good friend to others around you.
Yeah. So
being a good friend is important in general and everything in life.
Yeah. So interesting. Do you think most of the people you work with embody those characteristics?
Yeah, definitely. I'm lucky to work at a group that definitely everyone cares about each other. Like the junior classes are very tight knit. People definitely look out for one another. They hang out with one another. They're like, everyone's friendly. You know, pre all of this would go out together, whether that's out or to like hang out at a park on a nice weekend day. Even like mid-level bankers would still hang out with us. I guess, like, you know, seniors have like families and other responsibilities, and like, you know, like 50-year-olds aren't going to be hanging out with like 25-year-olds. But other than that, yeah, totally.
Do you think this, from your limited experience, is true across all banks, or just at the specific bank that you work at?
You know, I think a lot of companies talk about like their corporate culture, and I think that has become a culture.
Like our culture is so different.
Oh, I know. I do think it's a buzzword, and I think that I will say all banks are probably more alike than they are different, for sure. That being said, there are definitely differences in culture. Some places are more sort of group and team oriented. Other places are like superstar culture, if you will. I think different places attract different kinds of people as well. You know, you can work at a very large bank with a number of people, like, you know, let's say 150-ish people, even sometimes more in your group. That's just like in one office and in one industry. Or you can work at a firm with, you know, maybe 100 people across the entire firm. And that has implications for, you know, resources of the company. And the more resources, generally, like, the better your work-life balance, maybe, for instance.
Yeah.
There are things that there are privileges to working at a large bank. Not privileges, that's the word. There are benefits to working at a large bank that vary from having... There are generic tasks that we do that require... Like, that might not require a ton of thinking, that just require, you know, updating something. You know, we're a very, like, markets-based role, so a lot of the times, like, we need to adjust our deliverables, which are, like, our product that we present to the client, for the data that's going out. So, like, if something needs to be price updated, for instance, for, like, last closing price, or, like, the last, like, earnings reports, whatever else, sometimes we do that if it's really, really late, and our sort of, like, our data group is away for for the evening. Other times we're able to sort of leverage that and send it over to them. And smaller institutions may not have those resources, so you wind up sometimes doing more work, certainly being busier.
What are the benefits of working at a smaller bank?
Certainly greater exposure to senior bankers. You know, just by virtue of having fewer people, you're around others more often. I imagine you get really close with your class. A lot of the times if you work for a very small bank, or I guess like if you're in investment banking and you're working at a small bank, it's really like a strategic advisory firm, because most of the time they're not proper banks. So they also may see a variety of transactions and might not be pigeonholed in certain industry categories. Those are often called generalists. So you can work on anything ranging from, like, you know, you could be selling selling a train company one day to like a large logistical company, and the next day like selling a pharmaceutical company or advising a buyer in like the consumer retail space. Whereas at a large firm, you're a lot more likely, especially on a junior level, you're almost definitely going to be focused on one industry. And even within that one industry, you might be focused on like what's known as a vertical. So like, you know, within, like, let's take healthcare as an example, you might have like medtech devices and healthcare technology and pharmaceuticals. And so with experience, you probably not pigeonhole yourself, but, you know, you build rapport with industry experts and industry leaders in that vertical. And you build experience. And so naturally, you know, you can reapply your past knowledge to future problems to you know, for like solution generation. And you're probably just going to be better equipped to do that by virtue of having knowledge of the space already.
Is there anything else you would like the viewers to know about investment banking?
I would encourage people to go into it if they're looking for the most intense and robust financial education. I sort of view it as an extension of college, or like an equivalent to like a medical residency. You know, certainly I'm not drawing any moral equivalencies here. You know, we're not like saving lives or anything like that, and it's a lot less stressful by virtue of the fact that there aren't like open bodies on an operating table.
No one's dying.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's really important to remind yourself of too, like when things are getting really stressful. Like at the end of the day, like, you know, you're like no one is dying. Yeah, I would definitely encourage people to do their research, to understand the job before they go into it. I think a lot of people sort of just like follow the crowd and are kind of sheepish about it, and admittedly, you know, that's how I fell into it as well. I went to school that was very pre-professional, and so unfortunately few people were there to just like...
What school did you go to?
I went to Cornell.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I would encourage people to really understand what investment banking is. There are a lot of great resources. You know, not everything that you see in fin memes is true, although sometimes it is. And that's why, you know, that's why this pages exist. Because you're like, wow, this is so absurd. It needs to be like made viral.
Yeah, totally. How many salmon-colored shorts do you think you own?
Only one pair. That's like reasonable, right?
Is there anything else you want?
Yeah, Barnard, when are you getting air conditioning?
I know, seriously. Okay, thank you so much for being on this channel. I'm sure the viewers really appreciated this. I know I learned a lot. I hope everyone who watches this is inspired to go into banking. You will have a lot of free time. You will be partying all the time. You will have time for many different activities, especially when COVID ends and you're going into the office every day. And yeah, if you have any more questions for Mark, leave a comment below. I just met him. I'm sorry I'm hugging you. That must be really awkward.
No.
Yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know if you want anything else, any other career things, and any
Guys
Cornell.
are matching, look. It was kind of embarrassing. It literally happened by accident.
It was an accident, kind of.
No, it totally was an accident.
Yeah, well, I brought a green sweater.
And I was wearing this.
And he was wearing this.
And we were like, how the hecky Becky did this happen?
How the hecky Becky. Okay.
Cool.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Go team.